Should we be frightened? I think we should be a little frightened.
What do you tell the doomsdayers who are like, no, AI is coming for us. 50% of jobs in 5 years. It's all gone.
There's a lot of people I see asleep on this. They're asleep on this, Chuck. They're not paying attention.
Do you think the roles we have now with like IT engineers, network engineers, will exist in 5 years? I have a question that's kind of been keeping me up at night. Is there a future for network engineers in the age of AI? Like in 5 years, are we going to exist? That's why I'm here at Cisco Live, the largest networking conference in the entire world. And I'm asking this question. I need the answer. I'm asking Cisco people. I'm asking network engineers who come here, 22,000 of them. Hey, what do you think about AI? Are you worried? Do you currently use AI? Is this a thing for you? And let me tell you, this year feels different for network engineers. Everywhere you step, everywhere you look, AI, AI, AI. The opening keynote, Chuck Robbins, AI. G2 Patel, AI. Everything is AI. So here we go. Let's dive in. Okay, first, walking up to Cisco Live, the conference center. AI everywhere, every sign, every advertisement. It's the AI era. We're powering AI. Every booth in the world of solutions had something to say about AI. We kind of have a reason to be a little bit worried about AI. In fact, I just saw a Reddit post today where someone who had just gone to Cisco Live, they're like, are we gonna be okay? It's a very question I'm trying to answer day to day. And by the way, this video is sponsored by Cisco. They brought me out to Cisco Live and they gave me the freedom to make whatever I wanted. Thank you, Cisco team, you are amazing. Now, my first mission was to figure out how people feel about AI. Are they optimistic? Are they scared?
I can tell you that I touch AI almost daily for almost everything I do for work.
So AI, how do you feel about it? Are you optimistic? Are you excited? Are you all in?
You get all in or you get all out with AI.
How do you feel about AI?
Oh, I love AI. I use it almost every day.
Really?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you're optimistic about it?
Oh yeah, I think it's the future. I mean, everything's going to have AI in it going forward, and if you don't learn it now, you're going to get left behind. So
I'm optimistic.
Great. Okay.
I know AI has been around, but in a different form than what we're used to right now.
Right.
So AI now, I think it'll actually enhance all of our experiences.
Right.
I'm optimistic about it. I've used it for both college and personal, like creating scripts.
So you use AI now?
Yep.
Yeah.
I know my colleague here is not so keen on it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm indifferent. I mean, I think it's neat for security and like even for medical stuff, but
right.
All the ChatGPT and all that stuff, it's neat, but I don't care.
Now, overall, people seem to be pretty excited about AI. They're optimistic. They think that AI is going to make their lives better because it already has. And I know for me, it has in some ways. And the more models that come out and the better I understand how to use it, it does actually help me with some things, but not everything. We'll get to that later. Then I wanted to see, okay, network engineers, IT people, how are they actually using AI? Are they using it with their jobs and not just with their everyday life stuff? With AI, are you using it right now in your job?
I am.
How are you using it?
Mostly for code co-piloting and stuff that I don't want to do.
We actually just started about a year ago, and we're actually going heavy into AI. We're a utility company, right? So we're finding ways whereby AI could help us automate a lot of stuff that's done manually right now.
Yeah.
So. I mean, we talk about this all the time. AI is an assistant to what you do, and so you are the gatekeeper of what you allow AI to do or not do to your infrastructure. I think it's encouraged today to leverage that assistant next to you. I know you and I, when we first talked about automation back, 5-6 years ago, we were starting the whole DevNet thing, and we talked about, okay, so is automation going to change the way I manage my network? And is it going to take my job? And here we are. We're just talking about automation as a skill, as something that you should adopt as part of your tool set when you're working with your network. AI is the same.
My company, we're trying to use AI where we can. I think you don't want to rely completely on AI, but it's a great starting point. I mean, I'll give you, for instance, I had to write a document, really an ITIL document on that. So, okay, I go to Copilot, write me a document based on ITIL, give me a policy document. So it gives me a policy document. Okay, make these changes, making these changes. Gets me like 60% of the way there in minutes. At that point now I can take it and do my own thing. I wouldn't take that document and put it forward and said, here's my document.
Right.
Don't do that. But it's 60-something% of the way there, and now it's a really easy way to say, okay, where do I go from there, rather than sitting at a blank page and going, what do I?
AI is just another tool. And I've been talking this week a lot about ways that network engineers can use AI today to make themselves better engineers. So an example I will sometimes go into is, you've got some piece of knowledge buried deep in the back of your head, but it's buried under dust and cobwebs and too many late nights with pizza. You could go try to dive through it or go into it, but I like asking AI because I know if I see the right answer, I was like, yeah, that's the right answer, I can dive in. So verification of information, great use case for it.
Now, speaking of using AI, one of my first interviews I actually had was sitting down with Capo. This guy is a ball of energy. I love him. Thank you for sitting down with me, John. He is a former Cisco employee, but now he has left and he's working for an AI company called Selector AI. I wanted to sit down with John because he's kind of at the forefront of networking with AI. On Twitter, he's the first guy I see messing with MCP, agent to agent, agent ops, all those buzzwords. And I asked him the same question: are you optimistic about AI? Why do you think it was that you were more excited versus like, we're doomed?
Well, I see it as like the computer is for human convenience. Now, I'm old. I'm very old. My first computer didn't come with a mouse.
Oh.
The mouse was a peripheral that was screwed into the back on a serial port, and now I could move the mouse around.
Okay.
I know it sounds hilariously trivial, and I'm really old, but it's about convenience, is it not? So now instead of menus and GUIs and clicking and memorizing commands, and I can use my own natural intuition and just suss out questions in a conversational way. Now, should we be frightened? I think we should be a little frightened, right? With the great power comes the great responsibility, but it's an opportunity, Chuck. I see this like the protocols we just talked about, MCP and A2A. Why they've got me so excited is because they're protocols like HTTP or SMTP or spanning tree. Protocols. Your code can work with my code because we're developing them with standards. It's not the Wild West anymore, right? And it's very much like the late 90s, mid 90s, where protocols suddenly changed the world.
Right.
Think about HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and HTML. What did that do for the world? Right?
Yeah.
It brought us online.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So now these new MCP tools are going to bring us even further with artificial intelligence.
So you're overall optimistic.
I'm optimistic.
So of course, obviously, John works for an AI company. He's pretty optimistic. But I loved one of the last conversations I had with Hank Preston. Now, Hank Preston, if you don't know who he is, when I first met him, he was the Python network automation guy. Back in 2018, 2019, a big shift in networking was happening. We, as network engineers and admins, were being told that we have to become developers. In fact, Susie, we got to the stage and said, hey, you guys are developers now. And that kind of scared a lot of network engineers, including myself. Like, are we going away? Is our job going away? Guess what? It didn't. But Hank was at the forefront of that. He had an amazing session that everyone flocked to. He was like the guy those years. And he was showing us how to start using network automation and Python with network automation. This is a key thing I want you to remember. We're going to touch on that later. But one of the last things that Hank said to me and Jeremy as we were talking to him was that he said you have to be optimistic about AI. What else are you going to do? And I kind of feel like where everyone is. We're choosing to be optimistic. You have to wake up in the morning and continue on with this network engineering journey. Now, do we have a reason to be optimistic? That's still what I'm trying to figure out. The next thing I wanted to know is, are these people worried? So they may be optimistic about AI, but are they worried about network engineering? Are they worried about their own jobs?
No, I think the role is changing. Back then, networks were not what they were. I mean, licensing isn't what it is today.
Yeah.
So you look at how networks has progressed since then. It's the same thing. I think a network engineer that's saying like, well, I just I build switches, I plug. That's not an engineer. It's a jockey. That whole job has changed over the years.
Yeah.
So now you think about you look at Catalyst Center. You can deploy switches very quickly. So using the tools in Catalyst Center to deploy how many switches right away.
Yeah, that's true.
So the job itself has changed, and I think everyone understands that, and they need to, learn the new stuff and move forward with that.
So one thing about AI is, yes, there might be job loss, but also creates opportunity for you to learn new stuff and, remain relevant. So I'm not worried about that at all. I actually embrace it. I think it's going to be overall net good for everybody.
Yeah. What's your take on AI as far as the job market goes? Do you think it's kind of scary, like we're going to start losing jobs, or what do you think?
I would say like 25% jobs of the current firm will go away. New jobs will come, but it will not like gap all the breaches, but it will come different things. So like as a current technology, like here, the tech expert, I would say like people try to get familiar with it. Like the way we get ourselves familiar with the apps, smartphones.
Yeah.
We should get familiar with it and get on top of it and take it as like another cuisine, right? You are just trying out another cuisine. Just like, don't be afraid of it, right?
So I don't think that networking as a career is going to diminish. I think it's going to become more and more specialized, to support, high performance computing or GPUs or large language models in the data center. I think we still have 3 to 5 years of a safety net. I don't think that it's going to be that revolutionary and that fast. Beyond 3 to 5 years, it's really hard to project or predict. I think the time for skepticism is behind us. I think that everyone who is using AI has an advantage over people who are not using AI.
Okay.
Right? And as we have this conversation, if you're not using AI, there are other people using it, right? And there's going to be a parity gap here. And that is what I'm worried about, are the people here that aren't using it, that aren't paying attention, that are going to wake up one day to a whole new reality that they're not prepared for.
At least today, and some of this certainly will change as AI models get better. But right now, AI is not truly creative. AI are mathematical models that are building on patterns and finding patterns that are there and giving you good information, and it's fantastic at that. And so one of the things that I think true humans are still necessary is for innovative ideas. I try to be optimistic, right? The world is not for machines. The world is for people. And I think that we will recognize that there is still value in having people involved in the work, not just the machines that are there.
Again, optimism. They think network engineering is going to be okay. Many saying that network engineering will become even more critical as AI becomes more prevalent. More data centers means more network engineers making those data centers work. I like that viewpoint. So I don't know about you, but at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. I've talked to people at Cisco. I've talked to engineers. I've talked to engineers who love using AI, and they're all feeling pretty good about it for now. And that was my next question. Because right now, AI is moving at a pace I can't keep up with. Can you keep up with it? It seems like every single week, in fact, just this week, and I haven't looked at it yet or even played with it, we had a new model, O3 Pro, come out. So my question was, in 5 years, is the job of network engineer going to exist? Or system engineer, IT engineer? Because in 5 years, a lot can change.
I think they're going to change. They've been changing. I think you're still going to have network engineers. Obviously still have managers like myself, but the roles are going to be there, but they're going to change because we have to change with the times. You look at cybersecurity, you look at all the problems that are out there. The bad guys are also using AI, so they're getting quicker. So we have to worry about that as well.
It's going to be different for sure.
Yeah, what's like uniquely human that you can do? Yeah, just
or
that kind of
even
thinking.
Uniquely enginered.
Right. Yeah.
So, you can't build a network unless you actually understand how networks work.
Right.
I mean, we all know, we've all seen networks where you're looking at that and you're like, who built that? Did they understand?
It was AI. AI built it.
There will always be the need to be able to have a deeper understanding of how the network works.
Do you think the role of network engineer as we know it right now, will that exist in 5 years?
It will. We'll just be running the bots.
Oh, definitely, especially network engineers. AI runs on the network, so you're going to have to have the network there. So I just see it making us more efficient, if anything, but we're never going to go away.
We're here to stay. It's more of AI actually assisting, actually seeing more visibility of the network and what's going on, and give us more, instead of working, 12, 16, 18-hour days, it actually allow us to work 8-hour days.
Do you guys think that there will be a future for networking? Do you think that AI will take over networking?
I don't think so. As it currently stands now, definitely not. In the future, it's possible.
I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think the mundane tasks that we do day to day are going to go away, which means I don't need to SSH into a box. I don't need to look at what's going on with my network that way. I'm going to probably have an agent that do that for me. But we talked about this, like automation, whether before AI, you were supposed to do that anyway, right, with automation. Do I think we're still gonna touch the CLI? I think at some level we will. It's gonna probably be augmented with AI built into the terminal, which I think it's out there today, where you have your CLI, you have an agent on your terminal that's helping you with commands. I don't know most of the iOS XE commands, and I can't tell you how many times I go out to Cisco Docs or I go out to Google to search for it. Yeah. Now it's there, so it's gonna speed up. It's gonna make me have superpowers as a network engineer, but I don't think it's going to make me obsolete.
I think that network engineer looks similar to the one that is today, but they've incorporated more security skills. Because again, there's not a company I know of that wants an insecure network. Yeah. And I would also say someone that understands it not just from a network security standpoint, but a cybersecurity standpoint, understands red teaming, understands pen testing, understands blue teaming skills like incident response and threat hunting. I also think that that's someone that natively understands automation. I think that, everybody thinks about AI almost like it's an easy button. It's not. If you really want to get the benefits of AI, if you really want to feel them in your network, you have to automate more of your network operations and activities, and that's going to be a big part of, I think, any CCNA, CCNP, CCIE engineer and what they're doing. They're going to be thinking about how they can really drive that automation to get the benefits of AI. Otherwise, when I hear people talk about, it's all hype until you really automate that network activity, and I think that that's going to be a big part of the future work that our engineers are going to be doing.
Now, this question I feel like had the most fun answers. It became more practical for me. For example, Clark, he said we'll have 8-hour days instead of these 16-hour days that network engineers are normally faced with. Waking up and getting those calls. Maybe AI removes being on call. Wouldn't that be amazing? Kareem said that AI is going to give us superpowers. It will augment us and make us better. It'll do the things that we don't want to do. And Josh reiterated that AI runs on the network. The network powers it. The more AI there is, the more AI needs us. Now, my take on that, I think it's optimistic. And we have to be optimistic. It's really hard to say what's going to happen in 5 years. If we're honest with ourselves, we will all say that we were all surprised where AI is at this present moment. No one saw this coming. I feel like we're going to be saying something very similar in 5 years. And then I asked one more fun question. It was a meme I saw on X or Twitter. I don't know what to call it. What do you call it still? Which side of the bus are you on? And this assumes the premise that AI will eventually take half of all jobs. Will you be on the left side where you're saddened by the idea of AI taking jobs? You don't want it to happen. You think people should be the ones working. Or are you on the right side of the bus? Will you be overjoyed by the idea that AI takes jobs? Maybe we enter a post-job world. Sure, there's problems to solve. A lot more problems to solve with that scenario. Where do you sit?
I'm the girl standing in the middle going, it could do that and it could do that. My jury's still out, if you'll pardon the pun.
I'm somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle? Okay.
There'll be lots of jobs we'll be happy to hand off to AI.
I'm on the AI's going to take all our jobs, right?
Okay.
And I am an outlier, right? Like I have my own unique take on this, but to me, it being AI and large language models and natural language and chatting with the computer, it is like the promise of the last 30, 40 years. I feel like we've been on this trajectory and we're sort of reaching the upper ends of Moore's law and some of these, right? We're really starting to maximize our compute power. And I believe in a utopian outcome. Now, whether or not it's going to cost a lot of jobs, I think that some jobs will be displaced, but 2 years ago, there wasn't such a thing as a machine learning engineer.
Yeah.
Right. So new emerging categories of jobs will come out.
I would say for me, somewhere in the middle, maybe towards the left a little bit, where is AI going to destroy half of all the jobs. I don't think so. And I want to say this, and this is something that we overlook often, which is humans, engineers, network engineers have this thing that AI doesn't have, which is critical thinking. And so you built your critical thinking skills from learning, from troubleshooting networks, from experience, right? That AI does not have the capability to do that critical thinking skills.
Now, I think I'm somewhere in the middle as well. There are jobs in history that don't exist anymore and should not exist, like lamplighters. That was a popular example that the CEO of Anthropic used when he was talking about, hey, wake up, jobs might be taken. In 2 to 3 years, we might see 50% of jobs gone. But also, I think that we need to work. People need to work. People need purpose. We should never remove people from these jobs. AI should always be there to help us, but never replace us. And that's a common theme I heard many, many times throughout talking with everyone in all these interviews, is that AI isn't going to replace you, but someone using AI will. But then John Capo Bianco, man, he comes in with the craziest notion, and many people do hold this view. He was fully on the right side of the bus. And then the keynote happened. The opening keynote at Cisco Live is where they announce all the crazy stuff they're doing. And shocker, they talked about AI a lot. Chuck Robbins opened with saying that the AI race is on. We have to move forward, we have to be quick, because everyone is trying to have the best AI. We have to make it secure, we have to make it the best.
We all know that every company, every organization, every government around the world, there's also a defensive mechanism. There's a FOMO element about what are you doing in AI.
And I agree. There's no stopping it. The only thing we can do now is sprint forward as fast as we can. I get that. And then G2 Patel took the stage. One thing he said stood out to me. With the help of agents, or AI, we can take the 8 billion people in the world and augment them in a way to where we have a workforce throughput of 80 billion people.
So 8 billion humans will feel like we have the throughput capacity of 80 billion humans.
He then went on to say that we're going to have a different looking workforce. We'll have humans, of course, maybe, but we'll also have AI agents, AI apps, robotics, and humanoids. That's terrifying, but it's going to happen. And then they announced something pretty cool and also pretty terrifying. They announced their own purpose-built AI model for networking. It's called the Deep Network Model. It's been trained on a ton of networking-related data and tasks. And similar to how they benchmark other AI LLMs on coding tasks, this one they gave it a CCIE test, labs, an exam. And it performed 20% better than the other leading LLM models. They actually announced something similar at RSA conference, but it was security focused. I think it was called the Security Foundation model. I did try it out. It was okay. But then Cisco showed us something pretty crazy. They're putting AI in the data center, and they're doing it with a thing called AI Canvas. It's a new control panel that's all about AI. It's AI first. And they gave a demo in which this guy was troubleshooting a connectivity error, and this demo was live, real time. And he simply just chatted with this interface, which I believe was the Deep Network Model. And it started doing things that, man, humans just can't do. It's multimodal, so it was generating graphs and charts about the network in real time. Graphs and charts that we could drag on over to the main canvas. Real-time dashboard creation, which honestly is amazing. But then they showed one more terrifying thing. They had the model figure out a configuration, like produce a QoS policy or a cost policy for me, quality of service, and then he asked it to apply this policy. So at this point, this is something a network engineer would have done. We would have gotten into the routers, the switches, wherever this QoS policy would need to be applied. We would have troubleshooted it, figured out the configuration, and applied it. The AI did this for the guy operating this. I forgot his name. And all he had to do was just tell it his intent, what he wanted to happen in regular human language, not CLI speak, like we spend so long learning when we're studying for the CCNA and CCNP. Which brought me to a conversation I had with Kareem Iskander and Joe Clark. Kareem is part of the team that actually brought me out to Cisco. Thank you, Kareem. How do you teach them to use AI and then make sure they're using it right? How do you have a CCNA exam that's measuring if they're using AI effectively along with troubleshooting a network?
One of the ways we think we can do this, well, first of all, we might have to reconsider how we evaluate exams. So in a real world, you would have Google, you would have ChatGPT. Instead of doing a lot of multiple choice memorization, like you just said, Imagine if your exam allows you access to an LLM, allows you access to a search, and instead of multiple choice, you're dropped onto a web portal for Meraki, or you're dropped into a CLI, and you actually, when it says configure, when it says implement, you have to configure, you have to implement. The second part of your question is towards how do you get them to think critically about what AI is coming back with. We think there's an opportunity to present them with artifacts, like this is the topology diagram of the network, these are the configurations of the network, this is the prompt, and this is what the LLM said. What do you think is the right answer? What do you think is the most accurate response the AI has given you? And if they've studied, if they've prepared, if they've played with some of that LLM with something like Cisco Modeling Labs in a simulated environment, they should be able to answer that. They should be able to say, you can't do that interface there, or it says we're not allowed to run this protocol on our network, so I can't trust that answer, it has to be this answer.
So what we're seeing right now is people say you need to learn AI. You still need to learn the CCNA, but you need to learn all the new tools. A big focus that Joe mentioned was learning how to interpret the results of an AI. So when you're talking with an LLM and being able to see if it's giving you bad data or it's hallucinating. Okay, so let's close this up. I came to Cisco Live to figure out, is there a future for network engineers? This year we had an attendance of 22,000 people. 22,000 people that care about networking, that were there to learn about networking, to kind of get a forecast for the future. What are we supposed to be learning? The overall take of many people I talked with was they're optimistic. They're using AI every day in their job, and they're actually excited about how it's going to make their lives easier, their jobs easier. Some are honest in saying, yeah, it might take away some jobs, but it won't take away the jobs of people who adapt, who learn and use AI in their current roles. Now, I know in many roles I've had, we've been understaffed. We needed more people, but we couldn't find them. So I totally understand the appeal of having an AI buddy to augment your staff. I just hope it doesn't go too far to where they realize suddenly they don't need me either. But I will say this, I was so encouraged being at this conference because what I saw was still a strong desire to learn networking. Tons of people are still going for their CCNA, their CCNP. Everyone's excited about learning that next new thing. And they're also excited about learning the basics. IP addressing, subnetting, OSPF, EIGRP. For the time being, no matter how good AI gets, we need people who know those protocols so we can tell AI when it's being dumb. But reality check, real change is coming. And we need to be ready to adapt. You need to adapt now. If you haven't already started playing with AI, you need to become very familiar with it. I think the best thing you can do for yourself right now is just ask yourself, how can AI help me do my current job better? Also, get in community. Talk with your fellow engineers and see what they're doing. But also take comfort in this. This is no different than anything we've ever encountered in IT. We've always had to learn and adapt to the new technologies that come up. The people who don't adapt, they do get left behind. We've had traditional telephony migrate to voice over IP. We saw the big change with network automation, going from manually configuring a switch with CLI to configuring thousands all at once with automation. One might say that AI is simply another iteration, the next generation of automation. And as far as what network engineers will be doing in the future, I think that's probably it. It will not be getting in the weeds as much as we are right now, dealing with outages and looking through logs. It'll be, how can I make the network better? How can I automate more of the stuff we already have? And in 5 years, who knows? You can't know. Be optimistic, keep studying, and from what we can see, the world needs network engineers. And we have a shortage, and more AI is being built, and we gotta help power it. Now I wanna know what you think. The questions I asked, I would love to have those put in the comments below. That's all I got. I'll catch you guys next time.